Reeva Steenkamp. They called it Love's Day, and still the sun rose on sirens. In the early hours of the 14th of February, a door became a verdict none of us could read. Young woman stepped behind it, perhaps for privacy, perhaps for breath, and the world would spend years guessing which. Hollow point rounds tunneled through wood and silence. A life folded in a space no larger than a cupboard. By morning, the headlines had their paradox: a global hero and a body on a bathroom floor. From the start, two stories ran side by side like rails. One said fear. A man startled awake, a missing shape beside him in the bed. A noise where no noise should be, a country where homes learn to sleep with one eye open. The other said fury. A relationship thin with strain, a retreat behind a door, shots grouped with a kind of practiced certainty at the height of a human body. Between them stood a door splintered by a cricket bat, a phone untouched, neighbors who swore they heard a woman scream before the thunder, and a city straining to decide whether this was tragedy or the oldest kind of crime. Facts tried to speak, then faltered. 4 bullets through a locked panel at torso height, sequence that suggested movement, turning, shielding, collapsing, rather than a faceless intruder frozen behind plywood. A bat that fit the wounds in the wood as neatly as a key fits a lock. A watch gone missing from the scene. Evidence lifted, shifted, mishandled. The tidy grid of forensics smudged at the edges until every expert needed more adjectives than answers. In court, grief did what grief can do under lights. It became spectacle, or sobs, retches, shaking shoulders, a face hidden from a million eyes. Some saw a man broken by an impossible mistake. Others saw a performance in high definition. The judge called the testimony evasive. The cameras, indifferent to nuance, captured the rise and fall of breath and sent it spinning around the world. Outside, another choir was singing. Text messages surfaced like small, hard stones in the tide. "I'm scared of you sometimes and how you snap at me," one read, and the words did not choose a side so much as they refused to leave the room. The neighbors' accounts did the same. The order of sounds mattered, and memory is a treacherous clock. Scream, then shots, shots, then scream. Each permutation moved in tension, a shade darker or lighter, and the case seemed to live in those shades. The law did its long work, and still the rails held. First a conviction that felt too many like a technicality culpable homicide, then an appeal that redrew the line. Murder, dolus eventualis, the acceptance that death could well result. For some, this was the system correcting itself. For others, it looked like a weather vane in a strong wind, justice, adjusting its course in the slipstream of outrage. Through it all, the man at the center remained a symbol that would not sit still. He had been crafted by sweat and sponsors and story into proof that the human will could outrun its limits. That myth does not break cleanly. Splinters, and splinters are sharp. A nation measured itself against him and against what had happened, and no measurement felt exact. Was leniency given, then hardened? Was accountability rationed so the legend could be dismantled without burning the scaffolding that raised it? Years passed the way they always do, slow for the grieving. Brisk for the timeline, and sentences were served as sentences are. Release came, and with it, the ache that follows arithmetic. 9 years for a life is a sum that many cannot balance in their chest. The law keeps its ledgers. The heart does not. If you stand back, you can almost see the shape of a choreography, perhaps accidental, perhaps not. A crime scene busy enough to blur, a narrative tuned to fear in a fearful place. A courtroom where emotion rose on cue, a public asked to carry, at once, empathy for disability and fury at femicide. Was it managed? Was it simply messy? The difference is the difference between a storm and a stage, and most of us only ever see the weather. What remains are the objects that refuse to become only evidence. The door, the bat, the phone that did not dial. The door because it was a choice, a barrier made by a hand that hoped wood could still mean safety. The bat because it tells 2 stories at once, rescue and aftermath, theater and necessity. The phone because silence is itself a testimony we do not know how to hear. Perhaps there was no time. Perhaps there was no chance. Perhaps the simplest answer is the cruelest one. There was no belief that help would come. And then there is the date, a detail so on than us that even the cynical winced. Valentine's Day, meant for red roses, delivered red on tile instead. If fate is indifferent, symbolism is not. It lingers, making everything look arranged even when chaos was at the wheel. In another timeline, the door opens. Someone apologizes, someone leaves. A couple becomes two people again, alive. In ours, a young woman's name became a hashtag and a rallying cry. Reeva Steenkamp was not a symbol. She was a person who loved and worked and texted and laughed, who had friends and a future, who deserved a long, ordinary life. The rest of us made her into a mirror because that is what the living do, when the truth is smaller than the hole it leaves behind. Was justice done? A version was. A verdict was written, a sentence measured, a release signed. But the case left a shadow where clarity should have stood. Maybe the system bent under the weight of a celebrity it had helped to build. Maybe it merely stumbled, as systems do, and found its feet too late. Maybe all of it is true at once. Behind every door is a room and a choice. Behind this one, there is also a story we keep retelling because the pieces never quite lock together. We argue about intent, about fear, about performance. We circle the same handful of facts, like stones in a pocket. We forget and remember and forget again. And still the door stands in the mind's hallway, splintered, refusing to say more. Reeva's name deserves to be the last word. Not the argument, not the icon, not the man. The name spoken plain. The person, not the parable. May the memory of her life outlast the noise around her death, and may the quiet justice she was owed even now find its way through whatever doors remain.